and talk about taking action to get what you want. So if you remember last time, we talked about taking action and getting sustainable results. So it's the idea here that we're taking and sustaining action. So what I will remind you of is a story. It's a book out there. It's called Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's a fictitious story about a person that wanted to become a samurai archer. Samurai archers are known for basically being able to do long-range bow and arrows shots and hit bullseyes. And so this person was in the United States. He wanted to become a samurai archer, so he travels all the way to Japan in this village to be able to become a samurai archer. And part of this village, one of the responsibilities they get to do is chop wood and carry water. And that would take a few hours every single day. So when he first got there, he's like, oh, no problem, right? Because I'm just here at the village. It's part of what I need to do, be a part of the village and give back. And then but they didn't get into any like archery. He just wants to be shooting, And in his mind, he thinks that if he keeps shooting, then that'll give him the ability to then go further back and be able to use stronger bows in order to get a further trajectory and a longer arrow out. And so he tells this sensei, and he's like, you know what? How long is this going to take? I thought it'd kind of be done here within a few years. And the sensei kind of chuckled and he goes, it's going to take you 10 years. Like, whoa, 10 years? He's like, I'm 20 years old. I'm not going to be done until I'm 30? And he's like, well, what about if we got rid of this chopping wood and carry water? That takes like 3-4 hours every single day. He's like, get rid of the chopping wood, carry water, you're talking maybe 20 years. He's like, wait, what? Why would it take longer? Well, this is totally not helping me. And he's like, young man, one thing, you're impatient. You think that you can master a skill just by coming and doing it. So let me take you to a range. And so he took him to a range that wasn't even, it was basically they considered the beginning range, and he couldn't get even close to where the target was. He said, young man, the thing you don't understand is you don't have the strength and the stamina to get to where you need to be. That's why you need to chop wood and carry water. That needs to be done every single day. And so where this kind of correlates is there's different activities that we need to do every day, or we don't develop the way that we want to. So it's very much like there's a few tasks that we do on a daily basis, like eating and drinking water, that keeps us healthy and alive. You don't do those for a long period of time, we'll find ourselves weak, maybe even sick, and eventually we could die if we even get to that point. And so the interesting thing about the whole success principles, we kind of just take it backwards, right? And we recap a little bit. We started out with taking responsibility, right? So there's no value in reflecting backwards and living in the past because we don't then face reality of where we are today, right? Too often people will say to themselves, hey, remember how it used to be, Well, it doesn't work that way. Very, very commonly parents will say that when they have their newborn child. They'll say, hey, do you remember when we didn't have a kid and we could do all this fun stuff? Yeah, but you can't return the child. The child is now here. Like, we will never go back to an era where that doesn't exist, right? Even if you decide to give them up for adoption, you still have that child. It's still out there somewhere in the world, right? And so the interesting thing about, reflection on the past is it only should give us direction on how we need to go for the future. But really, it's only just letting us know where we've been. It's not necessarily giving us anything of value, right? And so when we decide to understand that we are where we are, and that's what matters, right? So for example, we're all here in this room. There is no value in the world, really, that you came from one city, you came from another country, you came from this place, you came from that place. It has really no value outside of that's what got you here to this chair today. The question that we have to ask all of ourselves is, well, where was it going to take us? Now that I know that I'm here on this map of life, where do I want to go? And so it doesn't matter if you didn't get a PhD, or you were passive on a promotion 20 years ago, or your mom and dad didn't love you enough. It doesn't matter. Because where we are today has no constellation of where we're going to go. One of my favorite stories in all of this has to be Colonel Sanders. He was basically pretty much a failure his entire life. He ended up doing like 12 different jobs by the time he was decided to open up a gas station and had a little bit of fried chicken to it. But he had been a locomotive conductor. He tried to sell insurance. He had been in the military, and he was honorably discharged, but he kind of sucked at that. He was not a colonel. And so he decides to do this.
Are you sure?
He decides to have this gas station at the age of 40, and he has a gas station, and he decides to sell some fried chicken. That's where things started hitting hot and heavy. The governor of Kentucky would give out ranks.
Okay.
Gave him the title of colonel.
That's where it
He
came from.
ran with it, right?
That's where it came from. Okay.
Colonel Sanders, right?
Peter's like, I am upset.
I'm like, wait a minute.
And so for 7 years, had this great run. People would come from all over the state to have his fried chicken.
Yeah.
The 13, is it 13 herbs and spices?
11.
Something like that?
I think it's 11.
11? Okay.
11 herbs
I'm adding a
and
couple more in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Giving them 2 more.
So the interesting thing about it, though, is that was back in the day when we didn't have the interstate running through Kentucky.
Wow.
The interstate was then put in
In
his 50s. And it was miles away, like I think 6 or 7 miles away from his gas station. So guess what happened?
Yeah.
Gone. So he starts, he pitters around doing this and that, and at the age of 65, well, so first off, the reason why he started the gas station at 40 was because he heard on a radio station the phrase from this DJ was, life begins at 40. And he decides, I'm going to do whatever I want to. And he decided to open up this gas station with his fried chicken. He didn't go to culinary school. Nobody told him about the 11 herbs and spices, right? He didn't know about franchising businesses or go to some kind of MBA program. No. He learned through the world of hard knocks that he sucked at some stuff, he was good at other things, and, well, he had a pretty good fried chicken recipe. And so that's why at 40 he started to do that. Then at 65, funny thing happened, he got his first Social Security check. And he decides, you know that fried chicken recipe? The 11 herbs and spices? I'm going to take that to the road. This is crazy. So he literally goes to 1,000 different places. Wow. Rejected, not at 1,000, but he was rejected by a ton of different places. But what he did was, this is out of like no business manual, by the way. It was a handshake. Hey, I'm going to give you these 11 spices, right? And when you sell a drumstick, slide me over some pennies, right? Slide me over some of the percentage of that one drumstick, or that thigh, or that wing. And guess what? The honesty of those people in Kentucky, they did. Wow. On a handshake. Wow. There was no business plan here. There was no no contracts run up. And so all of a sudden, he starts getting money coming in. The mail. Yeah, this is KFC. And so the amazing thing about it is, when a person at the age of 65, when most people at that era was retiring, this man was having the greatest success of his life, making hand over fist when it came to earning money. He was a very gruff individual. If you know him, when he sold off his Kentucky fried chicken, he was very adamant when they tried to change the recipe one time, or they tried to introduce something else. Like, that ain't my recipe. Okay, we did not do that. So very unique. And I bring that up. I love that story because here was a person, for all intents and purposes, from a world's perspective, did not really amount to much. Then at 40 decides to just do what he feels he wants to do, has some success. But then, in the life of hard knocks, an interstate comes through. I don't know how you could have predicted that in Kentucky, especially rural Kentucky, because they were on the eastern side, if I recall correctly. And so then at the age of 65, when most people are going to do crossword puzzles or go hang out at some old person's home, this dude is doing one of the most significant work he's ever done. It reminds me of Bill Gates, obviously extremely successful, changed the world as we know it. But he said he's had more value, more satisfaction, more worldly impact by doing the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation than he has doing anything else. And that's because he's trying to solve the world's problems, right? Of malaria and hunger and starvation, access to clean water, things that are life and death where, you know, computers, they're nice, right? But they weren't life and death like they are right now. So really interesting. So as we take that step, right, we take responsibility, we take ownership, this is where we are. Where do we want to be? And the thing that I will tell every single one of you is just because you want something doesn't take away from anybody else wanting that thing. And just because you might want to accomplish something doesn't mean that it's you should have to defend what you want. Right? You want to be married with children and be a full-time parent. Your choice, right? You want to become the greatest employee at some organization, so be it, right? You want to be the greatest mom or the greatest dad. Those are your own aspirations, right? Those are our own choices. And so you shouldn't feel like anybody's aspirations should affect you. So the end of last time, what we were going into, and so part of the homework was to fill out this form of the incomplete. The taking action, we'll go into a little bit more detail. So if you pre-filled some of this out, we'll go through this. And if you don't have a form like this, then I'll print it out and get you one. So what this one was, is you're going to write down some of the things that you might have started. Some men that are married will call this the honey-do list that has not gotten done yet. Other people consider this things that just half-started projects. And we all have them, right? It could be a closet that you want to organize. It could be the garage that now is basically a storage unit that you don't pay for to someone else. It's already yours. Other things might be things that you want to accomplish in your life that you just maybe haven't even started yet. So I wanted to kind of go around and see what insights from last month as we think about applying success principles of action, doing things, vision boards, goals. How has that been affecting each of you guys? So I'm going to stop the Instagram live if you're still going.